Good day, my name is Laura Knapp, and I am the Worldwide Business Consultant for AES, Applied Expert Systems. I am going to take you through an overview of one of our key products, CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux. The majority of IT departments are in the midst of restructuring their data centers. This interest is driven primarily by the desire to reduce cost and provide new business services. A cloud-enabled and dynamic IT infrastructure is required. With an ever-increasing amount of server-to-server communications, the next-generation cloud data center needs to facilitate high availability and performance server-to-server communications. Linux is a preferred server in this new high-performance environment, and the need for unified management of Linux across the enterprise, from Z System, Linux 1, Power, and x86, is required. CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux was designed to meet the demands of a cloud data center and the new business services. CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux is a comprehensive Linux and Unix monitor with microservices capability. Its initial focus supported the virtualization migration effort for the Z system, but has grown into a cross-platform Linux monitor. It monitors your Linux resources to determine that they are available, performing up to service level agreement, and being utilized effectively. It also provides details including resource utilization and process information on Docker containers. As an industrial-strength TCP/IP monitor with microservices, CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux provides continuous proactive measurement of SLA compliance, simplifies the monitoring of IP business functions, expedite problem diagnosis, and enhances tuning and capacity planning anywhere, anytime through a browser or mobile interface. CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux ensures that Linux creates the promised unification and robust IT infrastructure as advertised, resulting in operational advantages that reduce TCO, business advantages by integrating IT operations into business operations, and improved performance for Linux workloads, resulting in efficient resource utilization. CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux is the solution that provides the agility, reliability, and performance, the foundation for your data center cloud conversion initiatives. Now, if you think about it and you step back and look at your environment today, CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux provides you Linux visibility. On the left-hand side, we have the traditional environment, where you have, for example, your host, you've got Linux, you've got a wide variety of different hardware bases from x86 to IBM Power, IBM Linux 1, IBM Z System. You might have a hypervisor like KVM, you've got a lot of Linux hosts, and then you have your applications. And what we can do is across the board, from the applications on down, we can provide details on the health and well-being of your Linux server. But remember, we just announced support for our Docker environment, which means that on the right side, we can now delve into the Docker containers, the Docker engine, and continue to provide you the details on your Linux environment, regardless of the hardware base that it's running on. So this truly is a system that can support your Linux world. CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux provides comprehensive monitoring with a straightforward architecture and easy-to-use navigation. Support is provided for a wide variety of Linux and Unix servers, with the most often used servers listed: Red Hat, SUSE, and Ubuntu. The hardware base includes the often overlooked Z system and IBM Linux 1. Utilizing industry standard Java applications and common interfaces of web and mobile, this provides a very portable and easily supported environment. The main components of CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux are the Linux Monitor that collects your performance data from a wide variety of resources. You have your Linux database, which is a centralized database created in MySQL and accessible via a TCP data port by all monitors and the application server. It functions as data storage where the monitor writes collected data and where the report server retrieves data for display. There's the Linux reporting server, which is a web-based reporting server, and our optional mobility server that allows access from iOS and Android devices. Data is collected from a wide variety of areas, including commands, SNMP, MIBs, APIs, logs, messages, and containers. When you think about your service management environment, there are 5 critical areas. You need to monitor, analyze, diagnose, remediate, and report. Metrics need to be captured, analyzed, and available to cover the areas of availability management, capacity management, performance management, and microservices management. For CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux, we have available information from the link through the protocol stack and microservices with analysis in real time, near real time, and historically. This results in a comprehensive view of your Linux server-to-server communications. So if you look at, for example, our real-time environment, we have such functions as cluster view, Docker view, critical resources, and process view. All of this is enhanced by a robust alert notification environment so that when immediate problems are occurring, the appropriate staff members can be notified. As these staff members are looking at issues, they may need to go and look at what's been happening over the past 24 hours. Is this an element or a problem that's healing itself or getting worse? That will lead them into looking at our through 24 reports to remediate and diagnose in more depth the problems that they are facing. And again, we have a whole series of reports and views that allow you to look at a wide variety of functions in this manner. And then, of course, you need to take all of this information and either report it up to upper management or be able to go in, if you're a capacity planner or a tuner, and actually look at this information over time to see if you may need to make some changes, order new hardware because you're about ready to run out of memory. And so we have a wide variety of reports across all of our functions, across the metrics that we're collecting, that can be made available in a wide variety of formats. It would be impossible for us to look at all of the metrics. So what we want to do is just give you a few of the key metrics. And let's start by looking at workloads. That's one of the primary areas that many of our clients focus attention on. What is the workload that the protocol and the applications are putting on the environment? And so we'll look at key information like throughput in and out, errors, time exceptions, and retransmissions. All of this results in details on what's happening with response time, which we also look at. How long does it take for something to connect? What's the round trip time? What percentage of a resource is available? And we have the ability to look at elements which are outside of the given Linux server that we're monitoring. That's defined as a critical resource. And it can be located any place. Doesn't even have to be on your own network. We also go in depth and look at the links. So as we're pulling that information off of the network and feeding it into the Linux server, how fast and how effective is that? If you happen to be working on a Z system or a Linux 1, looking and gaining information on the OSA environment will be critical. So we also pull that information as well as the traditional Ethernet adapters. And then, moving into our microservices area, we provide information on the processes, for example, what the run status is, what it's using in CPU, and what the real system memory allocation is, and the new Docker support, which delves into the container and how they're using memory, CPU, virtual memory, network, and block I/O. So, while this may be interesting, we will take a look at a few actual screenshots so you can see what the product looks like. Now, CleverView for TCP/IP, as we indicated, really has three basic ways that we look at information. We look at it in real time, which we call our monitoring and alerting area. We look at it in through 24 over the past 24 hours, and then through 99, which are historical workloads. We're not going to go into all of these, but we just want to look, for example, to start off with in the monitoring area. And we'll look at our cluster view and our Docker view environments. Let's start by looking at cluster view. This is the screen, what we call our dashboard, which is the first screen that knowledge workers, technical support, DevOps will actually look at when they start and log into the product. And it gives you a high-level perspective of all of the monitored Linux environments and how they're using some critical resources. But you know, if you think about your environment, you don't just have 50 Linux servers. Most of our clients have thousands of them. And they don't want to look at all of them. They want to look at a subset. It may be the production. It may be the test. It may be the current project they're working on. And so on the left side, you can see where you can select a cluster. So if you've defined a grouping of Linux servers into a cluster, what we will do is you can load that and you will see the information for that cluster. And what type of information will we show you? Like we said, it's a high level. How's the overall health? Where should you spend your time right now? You'll notice that we give you what the availability of the system is. We show you what the alerts are. And for example, if I were just coming online as a DevOps person or a technical support person, I'd probably go in and look at those alerts. And by the way, I can just drill down right from the screen into more details on the alerts that are flowing. So this is a very important screen, and it's one of the ones that gives you a perspective of the health and well-being of your systems. Now, an area that we've expanded recently with our latest release is our microservices support. And we've done that with our new support called DockerView. DockerView is going to go in and provide you information on your Docker system. It's going to provide you all of the in-depth details on your images. And then it's going to delve inside of those containers and give you statistics, summary, logs, differences, inspection, and provide you all of the details that Toppin provides for PIDs and PPIDs. We can go further and we can look into information we've provided for quite some time. And that is we can look at process details, detailing things like CPU usage, memory, run parameters, and run paths. We can also go in and look at portmon, which shows how TCP/IP is passing information to all of the various applications and what that connection time is. These are all critical elements that lead you to supporting the microservices world. So let's take a look at one screen from DockerView in more detail. So this just shows you actually two one lines of our DockerView Stats Summary and DockerView Stats Active. So the top one shows you the active information, which has the container, what its utilization is on CPU and memory, what it's using on NetIO and block. If we look at the summary, this provides information on what the images are, the commands, when it was created, what ports are being used. So that's summary information on the given container. From these, you can delve into more depth on the container. But in the interest of time, we're just going to use this to tickle your fancy on what's available to you. Let's now briefly look at through 24. We said that sometimes that you need to go in and look in more depth at your processes and your workloads. Have your processes been more active? Are they using more resources over the past 24 hours? Well, this is one of the areas that our through 24 reports can provide more depth. So for example, in this screen, we're looking at a workload snapshot. And what this is showing is for the IPv4 environment, what has actually the throughput packets in packets per second, both in and out, since midnight, the last interval, and then the current interval. And this can give you a very good perspective on how things are working. We've had many of our clients that have seen that some problems have been fixing themselves where others continue to escalate and now need to be looked at in more depth. So we show you the high-level view at the top, and then down below we go into more depth, in this case on a Red Hat system that we've been monitoring. Now, you also might want to look in your snap processes. What's been happening over the past 24 hours on your processes? Now, this gets to be a little bit daunting because there's a lot of processes running in a Linux server. In fact, in this case, we have 102 items that have been found. So one of the things is you sometimes have too much information. In our products, one of the things that we do is we have filters, and so you can actually go in and filter. In this case, I said, I just want to see the SNMPD environment. And now what it does is it takes all of the other elements out of the equation and only shows me the SNMP and how it's been using the various resources. So you will see this across the board where we add functionality into our screens that allow you to make sense out of the massive amount of information that's been collected. So let's look now at the through 99, which are the historical reports. And we'll look at the critical resources in the KVM environment. When looking at our through 99 reports, these are our historical reports, and the one that we're looking at here happens to be our critical resource. And why is this an important report? Well, this allows me to define any element that has an IP address and monitor it for availability and response time. So can I get to it? Can I send packets to it? What's its response time? And I can do this with a flexibility of setting the actual packet size that I'm going to send to that system. Now, why is this important? Well, if you think about your Linux servers, they actually have to use resources from a wide variety of areas, like they use DNS servers. The application may go out and access an external web server for some information. So this allows me to understand what those resources are, how, if they're available, how am I accessing them, what's the response time to get over there, and that can help me in my overall troubleshooting environment. Now you'll notice that this is a daily report. I also can take this report, for example, clicking on 10/10/2016, And that would actually show me an hourly report. And we'll actually see one of those on the next chart. Here is our KVM report. This actually goes in and monitors what's happening with your KVM environment. And one of the things that we do is we focus on the CPU and the memory used. Again, the chart in the back is actually showing me the daily report. If I click on the date, what it then shows me is for that day, the hourly report for the elements that were being monitored. So as I look at this, I can now see what's happening throughout the day. And this can help me determine, do I have peaks and valleys as far as when I'm using CPU and my memory utilization during very specific times of the day. And as many of you know, we have a lot of peaks and valleys that occur in our servers, and we need to be able to understand this information so that we can maybe do some better performance tuning of some of the Linux and KVM parameters. So here what we're looking at on the left side is the actual alert that might show up on your Android or iOS device. It shows you that this is coming from Clever Mobile for Linux. It shows you that this is coming from a SLES 10 node. And then from there you can go and actually on this device delve into the detailed information. So I went from the alert, I looked at the alerts, I see that I have 9 process alerts, and the problem, as you see in the bottom, is that the process is unavailable. So I can then work with the staff back at the data center and work with them because I have viable information, and we can now have a good conversation and resolve the problem. Our intent was to provide you a broad perspective of CleverView for TCP/IP on Linux. Please visit our website, www.aesclever.com, for additional information. Why not schedule a webinar to gain additional insight or request file software to see the product in action in your environment? AES is here to work with you and your business in meeting your business service and security management needs. Thank you for your time.